طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Chapter 29 of Kitab al-Siyam says, باب حفظ اللسان للصائم. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: الصيام جنة فلا يرفث ولا يجهل، وإن امرؤ قاتله أو شاتمه فليقل إني صائم مرتين، والذي نفسي بيده لخلوف فم الصائم أطيب عند الله تعالى من ريح المسك، يترك طعامه وشرابه وشهوته من أجلي، الصيام لي وأنا أجزي به، والحسنة بعشر أمثالها. Chapter 29 says to protect one's tongue while observing fast. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, fasting is a shield. So the person observing fasting should avoid sexual relation with his wife and should not behave foolishly and impudently. And if someone fights with him or abuses him, he should say to him twice, I am observing fasting. The Prophet ﷺ added, by him in whose hands my soul is, the smell coming from the mouth of a person fasting is better with Allah than the smell of musk. Allah says about the fasting person, in parentheses, he has left his food, drink, and desires for my sake. Fasting, it is for me, so I will reward for it, and the reward of good deed is multiplied 10 times. In other words, the obligation of fasting, or the obligation of protecting your tongue when you fast. The obligation of fasting, or the obligation of protecting your tongue when you fast. And as many of the Salaf, they used to say that when you fast, then your body parts should fast as well. Everything else should be avoiding and abstaining as well, not just your belly. Other things should be fasting as well. And from that, and the most important of those things which should fast is the tongue. So that's what's meant by this. And also the virtue of protecting one's tongue from obscenities and vulgarity or anything else when fasting, or any type of nonsense or any type of foolishness. And of course, it's obligatory to preserve your tongue all of the time. It's obligatory to avoid obscenities and being vulgar and obscene and disgusting all of the time. But it becomes worse. It becomes more important. It becomes more virtuous. It becomes a higher and greater obligation to do this when one is fasting. As far as the tongue and its importance and its danger, then for the detailed explanation of this, you can go to many different lectures we've done, many. And from the sources I would steer you towards is explanation of the hadith, say, I believe in Allah, and then be steadfast and upright, of Ibn Rajab, rahimahullah, translated some years ago. And in the back of the book, we added an appendix of Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah ta'ala, in which he talks about the danger of the tongue and the seriousness of the tongue and how you are to be in control of the tongue. Also, in Adat with Dawa or Al-Jawab al-Kafi as well, we did a lecture with regards to, or the name of the lecture was, ways that Shaitan attacks the son of Adam or approaches the son of Adam. And he talks about the tongue and the utterances of the tongue. Moving forward. So, this narration tells us, or this is a hybrid narration. It starts off as a Hadith Nabawi, and then it turns into a Hadith Qudsi. It starts off with the Prophet's words, and then turns into the words of Allah, the Mighty and the Most High. And the highlighting point, it clearly says, فَلْيَقُلْ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ مَرَّتَيْنِ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ. Okay, the hadith it says, فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَجْهَلْ. Similar to Hajj and the rulings of Hajj, فَلَا رَفَثَ. The fasting person should not speak of rafath. And the rafath could be obscenities, or it could be anything that pertains to sexual intercourse and sexual intimacy, and the list goes on. So no rafath when making Hajj, and no rafath when it comes to fasting. That's the highlighting point. وَلَا يَجْهَبْ. Nor should you behave like a fool. Do not behave like a fool when you're fasting. You're not supposed to behave like a fool anytime, but even more so when you're fasting. And obviously, physically and of course, verbally, saying foolish, dumb, stupid stuff. It then says, when imru'un qatalahu aw shatamahu falyaqul inni sa'imun. And when someone qatalahu, yani hawala, he tries to fight you, shatama, they curse you and they want you to get back into the trading and the exchanging of bad words and nasty things, then avoid that person, stay away from that person, and tell them simply and easily, I'm fasting. In other words, please respect my soul. I'm not scared of you. I'm not afraid of you. I can curse maybe better than you can. Maybe I can curse you out like you've never been cursed out before. Or maybe I can beat you down and knuckle you down like you've never been knuckled before. But because I'm fasting, I won't. Because I'm fasting, I won't. So please respect my fast and don't force me to behave ignorantly and stoop down to that level. That's the highlighting point from the hadith. Khairan, inshallah. This hadith teaches us many things. And from the things that it teaches us is the tremendous reward of fasting and the incalculable merit or superiority of Sawm. And this hadith, among many others, is one of the strongest hadiths regarding the superiority of fasting. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. Let's move forward. Nawawi, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here, with regards to this hadith, اختلف العلماء في معناه مع كون جميع طاعات لله تعالى، فقيل سبب إضافته إلى الله تعالى أنه لم يعبد أو لأنه لم يعبد أحد غير الله تعالى به، فلم يعظم الكفار في عصر من الأعصار فلم يعظم الكفار في عصر من الأعصار معبودا لهم بالصيام، وإن كانوا يعظمونه بسورة الصلاة والسجود والصدقة والذكر وغير ذلك. وقيل لأن الصوم بعيد من الرياء لخفائه بخلاف الصلاة والحج والغزو والصدقة وغيرها من العبادات الظاهرة. وقيل لأنه ليس للصائم ونفسه فيه حظ. قاله الخطابي قال وقيل إن الاستغناء عن الطعام من صفات الله تعالى، فتقرب الصائم بما يتعلق بهذه الصفة، وإن كانت صفات الله تعالى لا يشبهها شيء. وقيل معناه أنا المنفرد بعلم مقدار ثوابه أو تضعيف حسناته، وغيره من العبادات أظهر سبحانه بعض مخلوقاته على مقدار ثوابها. وقيل إضافة تشريف كقوله تعالى ناقة الله، مع أن العالم كله لله تعالى. وفي هذا الحديث بيان عظم فضل الصوم والحث إليه. طيب, Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that all acts of worship are supposed to be for Allah. They're supposed to be done for Allah, for the sake of Allah, to please Allah. So why is fasting attributed solely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why is this the only thing that is attributed to Allah, fasting? What's the purpose behind this? So that's the first point of discussion that Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala is going to get into, is why was this act of ibadah attributed to Allah the Mighty and the Most High. طيب. He says the scholars, they differ on this. And of course we've explained this, alhamdulillah, many times. But now you're getting it from a different source. He says, one interpretation is that this is an act of ibadah, an act of worship that is exclusive to Allah. It's only given and it's only shown to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the kuffar and the mushrikun, there was never an idol or deity or god or goddess which they worshipped through fasting. There were things that they did of prayer, prostration, other things here, charity. One may even say tawaf, and also dhikr, praising the name of this deity or this god or this goddess or these gods and goddesses, these spirits and ancestors. Dhabh, slaughter, sacrifice, a blood sacrifice. He says, but fasting is specific to the Muslims, specific to Islam, specific to the Sharia of the Muslims. This is what Nawawi says. So that's one interpretation. Interpretation number two is that fasting is far from a person falling into showing off. Riyah, doing it to please people, to make people congratulate you and to praise you. Fasting is hidden. No one knows that you're fasting. You really could be eating or drinking behind closed doors. No one truly knows. A third interpretation is that the fasting person doesn't get anything from it directly. Another interpretation is that lack of eating and lack of drinking is from the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah does not eat or drink. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad. Allah doesn't need these things. He has no use for these things. These things are for the humans and for the created beings. So therefore, when a person doesn't eat and when a person does not drink, he says, taqarraba, he gets closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with an act of worship that is in line with one of his attributes and one of his qualities. And that is al-istighna, being free from food and free from drink. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, even though Allah's attributes are totally uncomparable. Moving forward. And others, they say this hadith means the part that says, as-siyamu li wa ana ajzi bihi, fasting is for me and I give the reward therefore, that only Allah knows of the reward of fasting. And Allah has never told his servants how many rewards lie in siyam. Some people know about how many rewards lie in prayer, hajj, zakah, jihad, the ilm, and joining the good, forbidding the evil, etc. As far as siyam, then no one but Allah truly knows the amount of reward that is contained therein. Some they say that. And others they say is that Allah attributed fasting to him to make this thing magnificent, majestic, and noble. Idafatu tashrif. Allah, the masjid is called Baytullah, the house of Allah. Malullah, the wealth of Allah. Naqatullah, the she-camel of Allah. Even though Allah owns the entire world, everything is for Allah. Allah owns everything. He possesses everything. Lillahi ma fi samawati wa ma fi al-ard. Lillahi mulku samawati wal ard. Verse after verse after verse in the Quran that established this. So these are some of the reasons why some ulama say that the hadith states that fasting is for me. وقوله تعالى وأنا أجزي به بيان لعظم فضله وكثرة ثوابه لأن الكريم إذا أخبر بأنه يتولى بنفسه الجزاء اقتضى عظم قدر الجزاء وسعة العطاء. And when Allah says, and I give the reward therefore, once more it shows that the rewards of fasting, what you get out of fasting, it cannot be counted or enumerated. It's just too much, it's too great, it's too heavy, too heavy. Then Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala says, and that's because if a generous man, a rich man, a wealthy man, if he himself is going to reward someone, that proves that the bounty, the reward is going to be tremendously heavy, right? If there was a king and let's say an assassin was brought to his court, and he says, it is your job to go out and assassinate this person, take this person, for the sake of the state. And if you're successful, if you take his life, I will reward you. Not the wazir is going to give you the money, not this courtier is going to give you the money, this person, the king himself. You come back to the palace and I will reward you handsomely for your service. Obviously that person who was on that assassination job is going to be heavily inspired because the king himself is going to recognize my service. The king himself is going to come in direct contact with my talents and my skills. So moving forward, then he speaks on the part of the hadith that states وَلَا خَلُوفَ فَمِ الصَّائِمِ طيب he speaks on the linguistical aspect of this, and he talks about here وأما معنى الحديث فقال القاضي قال المازري هذا مجاز واستعارة لأن استطابة بعض الروائح من صفات الحيوان الذي له طبائع تميل شيء أو إلى شيء فتستطيبه وتنفر من شيء فتستقذره والله تعالى متقدس عن ذلك لكن جرت عادتنا بتقريب الروائح طيبة منا فاستعير ذلك في الصوم لتقريبه من الله تعالى. As far as the part of the hadith that states that the odor of the fasting person's breath is more pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the smell of musk, then he quotes some of his predecessors, some of the previous commentators on Sahih Muslim, and basically he says the same thing that he says about pretty much any hadith that pertains to affirming one of Allah's attributes, of the attributes which are not necessarily affirmed by the Ash'ari school. Those attributes which are generally known as Sifatul Ma'ani, the metaphysical attributes. From them is hearing and seeing, life, power, speech, knowledge, and will. And they're from others as well. Those are the main ones. As far as anything other than those, with exceptions to a few others, then they say no. And obviously we don't reject the Quran. We can't reject the Hadith. We don't blatantly just, reject it, but we say it has a meaning, and that meaning is understood and interpreted how we see it to be. Majaz and ta'wil and all of that. So he mentions the same principle, quoting one of his predecessors who says, is that this is not literal, it's figurative. And why is it figurative? He says, listen here, that loving smells and being fond of scents is from the attributes of created beings. Created beings, al-haywan, okay? A human or an animal or something that's living, walking, talking, eating, smelling, drinking, right? And that is that they have natures, tabi'. A person has a tabi'ah, a nature, in which they find something pleasing and they turn towards it. And they find something displeasing and they turn away from it. Oh, that smells bad. Oh, that smells good. We're talking about the aromatherapy. It's a science behind smells. There's no doubt about that. You smell something, you think of something. Perfume, cologne, gasoline, diesel fuel, car oil, cat litter, all right, potpourri, whatever it may be, tea, food, and the list goes on, all right, breakfast, the bacon and the eggs sizzling in the pan, etc., etc., fresh coffee, all right. He says, and Allah Azza wa Jalla could never ever be like this. It is impossible for Allah to have these different attributes, and this is what we do. So therefore, the concept is borrowed from us. It goes to Allah's attributes, but it's not real. It's not literal. It's only figurative, etc. As we have explained many times before, this is incorrect. This is erroneous. May Allah have mercy upon Maziri or Khattabi or Nawawi, whoever else said this or believed this is wrong. And we've proven why this is wrong in several different classes. And from the reasons why this is wrong, which is clear and obvious, is that a person says something which is literal or figurative as they like. Okay, we pick and we choose which of Allah's attributes we want to really affirm and which of Allah's attributes we don't wish to affirm, even though the source of them is one, Quran and Hadith. Those who brought the Quran and Hadith is one. The language is one. The style is one. The verses are clear, back to back, but we pick and choose what's literal. Yes, Allah does hear everything. He does. That's literal. Allah loves? No, we can't say that. We can't say Allah loves because loving is such and such and such and such. So who determines what is and what isn't real and literal and figurative? Who determines what is tashbih and what is tanzih? Who determines what makes Allah like us? What makes Allah like you? Who determines that? What rule do we use? What ruler do we guide with, engage with? You say, there's no doubt Allah hears and He sees. I say, why? وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ in the Quran. And I say that Allah Azza wa Jalla, radiyallahu anhu wa radu an. Allah is pleased with them, they are pleased with Him. Same source, same lugha al-Arabiyyah, radiyallahu anhum wa radu an. Ra, Dad, yeah, same vowels, same huruf, same Quran. What's the difference? They say, no, you can't say that Allah is pleased. And that's because pleasing would make Allah like His created beings, The created beings are pleased. The created beings find things out. They discover things and they are pleased or displeased. You can't say that. Allah, laysa kamithlihi shay. Nothing like Allah. Tayyib. No problem. And then I say hearing and seeing is like a human being. I see something today, tomorrow I don't see it. I hear something, I walk away from it and I don't hear it. My Bluetooth is perfectly fine with my phone. It's working. What happens when I step away from my phone though? I walk away from my phone. I get out of the range of the Bluetooth. Then what happens? Can't hear anything. So therefore, hearing and seeing is an attribute of the created being. It's an attribute of the human. Cats hear and see. Humans hear and see. Bats, they don't see too well. That's why they make noise. Whales, and the list goes on. They use different ways of navigating through the darkness. What would you say then? You say, no, you can't say that, akhi. You can't compare Allah to a human being. You can't compare Allah to an animal. You can't compare Allah. Why not? Laysa kamithlihi shay. So therefore, radiyallahu anhum wa radu an. Allah is pleased with them and they are with him. We say what? Laysa kamithlihi shay. Everyone understand this? And we've proven this systematic way before. Secondly is, a person only figuratively interprets the attribute and says that it is isti'ara and majaz after they have done what? What did he do? What do we just recognize? What do we notice? He did what? He said it can't be, it can't be, it can't be because ... In other words, when he heard this hadith, La khalufu fam as-sa'imi atyab inda Allah min rih al-misk, the first thing that he thought about was what? A human being's mouth, a human being smelling, a human being finding it pleasing, etc. Human. He compared Allah to his created beings first and foremost. We like the smell of things. This is nice. Istitabat al-rawa'ih. This is nice, it's fragrant. Smell the aroma before you even taste it. Just the smell of the tea. That's what humans do. So when he heard this, Allah's compared to humans. And since laysa kamithlihi shay, there's nothing like Allah, it can't be literal and it can only be figurative, but at the same time, we're not as bad as the Mu'tazila or the Jahmiyyah, and we're not just going to just deny the hadith and reject the hadith and say that it's made up like they would do. Everyone understand this now? So before a person got into the figurative interpretation, the only thing that pushed him and led him to the figurative interpretation was what? Was comparing Allah to his created beings. Comparing the concept, comparing the names, comparing the words, and not distinguishing between al-idafa wal-ikhtisas. Is that once something is attributed to Allah, it's no longer parallel or equal or even similar. The word before that, or even a concept, maybe. You find something pleasing, a smell, and so does a bird. You smell something and you smell something. Two different human beings, an expert on perfume and someone who's just an average 9-to-5 person. They both can smell and they find things pleasing with their noses. They have natures that lean towards a scent. And the ideas and the thoughts and the memories that are associated with scents, the nostalgia with a scent, the smell of freshly cut grass, lemongrass in the summer, magnolia, all right, the cherry blossom, spring, fall, autumn, etc., right? So therefore, there are two different types of noses among the humans, two different types of smells. And then we bring in a third. We say Allah finds this fragrance more pleasing than the smell of musk, the fasting person's breath, the odor of his breath, right? So the word pleasing, fragrance, finding, etc. is all similar until we do what? Attribute it to Allah. Once we've attributed to Allah, it's no longer it's no more similarities, no more parallels, let alone it being the same. And that pertains to love, hate, good pleasure, hearing, seeing, istiwa, any attribute in the Quran or the authentic hadith. I would understand this. So these are a few reasons why this is wrong, let alone the fact that it's against the zahir al-lafz, it goes against the outward wording. And secondly is, the companions never knew this. They never talked like this, they never understood this, they never spoke like this. And from the most horrific things that you'll find, and I've experienced this personally, you'll find someone, they'll claim that the Ash'ari Aqidah or Maturidi Aqidah is the Aqidah of the Sahaba and the Salaf. And it was known to be that until Ibn Taymiyyah came. Subhanallah, some things you don't even laugh at. It's like, are you serious? for the books of hadith and tafsir and fiqh and aqidah to be void of these styles and usloobs for 300 years, 200 years, 400 years. And then you come and you claim and you say, what? That was the asl, and Ibn Taymiyyah came and made the anthropomorphism and made Allah like his created beings and put Allah in the body in a mortal place. Are you serious? Do you have that much, you lack shyness that much to make that false claim? That's nonsense. In the Arabic language, it's nonsense. Let alone the Sahaba to attribute it to the companions. If you find an example here of this, a specific meaning of a specific attribute, and one part of Tafsir Tabari, for you to say that that is the way of Ibn Abbas, Ibn Mas'ud, Zayd ibn Thabit, you gotta be kidding me. Let alone the fact that history debunks this. These terminologies, this way of thinking was foreign to the Muslims until a certain part and a certain period came in which the non-Muslims, they did what? What did they do? They mixed with the non-Muslims and they start opening up those books, and they Arabicized those books and they translated those books. And they start looking towards the philosophers and the thinkers, the enemies of the religion, and use them to interpret their religion. I would understand this? طيب. قال القاضي وقيل يجازيه الله تعالى به في الآخرة فنكون هكذا فتكون نكهته أطيب من ريح المسك كما أن دم الشهيد يكون ريحه ريح المسك. A second interpretation made by Qadi Iyad is that Allah will reward the fasting person on the Day of Judgment. He will reward him, and his breath will be more pleasing than the smell of musk, just like the blood of the martyr will be finer than musk, even though it's actual blood coming out of his wounds. And of course, this is false, and it's disrespectful to Quran and Sunnah, and that's because you take 10 attributes and you say that they all mean one thing. Love of Allah, this attribute, that attribute, this attribute, radiallahu anhu, it says all jaza, reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you just diffuse 10 attributes, 10 verses, 10 hadiths, 100 hadiths, 1,000 hadiths. You've diffused them and they have no meaning except for Allah gives reward. That's clearly false. Secondly is, do human beings not give reward? Do human beings not give reward? Yes, they do. Is Allah's reward like the human being's reward? Of course, you're going to say, "Laysa kamithlihi shay." So why does the rule change with the other attributes? Everyone see the hypocrisy in the Aqidah? It makes no sense. They fancy and they pick what they want to pick to be literal, and other things they say it just means Allah is going to reward them, and that's batil. Moving forward, وَقِيلَ يَحْصُلُ لِصَاحِبِهِ مِنَ الثَّوَابِ أَكْثَرَ مِمَّا يَحْصُلُ لِصَاحِبِ الْمِسْكِ. And others they say he will get a greater reward than the reward of one who sells musk. That's also false. وقيل رائحته عند ملائكة الله تعالى أطيب من رائحة المسك عندنا. And others they say, listen to this one, is that the smell of his breath and the odor of his breath will be more pleasing to the angels of Allah than the smell of musk to us. The hadith says nothing about angels. Angels were never ever mentioned. Angels do not say وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. That's even false. That's even more false. Moving forward. When كانت رائحة الخلوف عندنا خلافه, even though the odor of the fasting person's breath is totally displeasing to us. والأصح من قاله الداود قال والأصح ما قاله الداوري كذا من المغاربة وقاله من قال من أصحابنا أن الخلوف أكثر ثوابا من المسك حيث ندب إليه في الجمع والأعياد ومجالس الحديث والذكر وسائر مجامع الخير. طيب. And others they say, or no, he concludes this by saying the correct interpretation of this is that the reward of fasting is greater than the reward of musk. Whereas we are commanded and we are requested, or it is recommended to use musk on the Eid, on Friday, when we sit with dhikr, etc, etc. And obviously that's not strong at all. The hadith says nothing about this or that. It says that the odor of the fasting person's breath is more pleasing in Allah, to Allah. And included in that, or from that which that is included in is, laysa kamithlihi shay. Nothing is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the same time, Allah spoke to us, and the Prophet spoke to us with a language which was understood. A language which was clear and direct. Not some enigmatic type of language or encrypted type of language. Moving forward. He says, واحتج أصحابنا بهذا الحديث على كراهة السواك للصائم بعد الزوال لأنه يزيل الخلوف الذي هذه صفته وفضيلته وإن كان السواك فيه فضل أيضا لأن فضيلة الخلوف أعظم. طيب. He says another fiqh issue pertaining to this hadith is that which is used by some Shafi'i scholars to say is that once dhuhr comes in, it's time for dhuhr, one should not brush his teeth. The toothstick, the miswak, should be avoided and it should not be used. And that is because when you brush your teeth, when you use the siwak, you take away the bad smell, the unpleasant odor from fasting. And obviously this shows you the virtue of it. Even though the siwak is virtuous, it has a great merit in it, but this is greater. This is greater. He then says, وقالوا كما أن دم الشهداء مشهود له بالطيب ويترك له غسل الشهيد مع أن غسل الميت واجب فإذا ترك الواجب للمحافظة على بقاء الدم المشهود له بالطيب فترك السواك الذي هو ليس هو واجبا للمحافظة على بقاء الخلوف المشهود له بذلك أولى والله أعلم. Then he says, and a comparison of this or similarity to this is the blood of the martyr, the blood of the shaheed. And once more, like we've explained before, whenever the word shaheed is mentioned without any restrictions, then it's talking about someone who died on the battlefield. And it is not talking about someone who died from their belly, someone who died in the fire, someone who was drowned, someone died defending their honor, their wealth, someone upon which their building collapsed on them. That's not what's meant. Mutlaqan, end of itlaq. As far as when it's attributed to something else, it's a different story. There are other types of shaheeds. But the asl, the original shaheed, and when it's mentioned absolutely without any restrictions, it's talking about qital, fighting in a lost cause. So be mindful of that. And it's one of the very, very dangerous threats on the orthodoxy of Islam. It's bringing some new, false, bogus interpretation to please non-Muslims. And it doesn't mean that a person is involved in something haram or incorrect or destructive or whatever that is. But the truth remains to be the truth. And there are many Muslims who do this. They want to make jihad fi sabilillah just jihad al-nafs. That's it. And they'll do it. Some people will do it openly and publicly, and others they'll do it subtly. And some don't even realize that they're doing it. And you'll find them, they're saying jihad means struggle. It's struggle, the struggle within, it's just a struggle. Yeah, jihad means to struggle hard in the cause of Allah, exert your efforts, badlul wus'a, exert your efforts in the cause of Allah. That's correct linguistically. But when the word jihad is mentioned in the Quran and Hadith without a restriction, then the asl, the default rule of thumb, the default setting is talking about a sword and a spear. It is not talking about an ink pen. It is not talking about a spiritual jihad. It is not talking about jihad the munafiq, jihad shaitan. It is talking about a sword and a spear in the battlefield for the cause of Allah against the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indal itlaq. As far as if it's restricted, if something else is mentioned, a certain context, then that's a different story. No doubt, jihad al-nafs. No doubt, jihad shaitan, jihad al-munafiq, jihad of ilm. There's no question about that. There's no doubt about that. But we do not pervert the correct original orthodox meaning. Listen carefully. The orthodox meaning must keep its purity. It must keep its purity. And it doesn't necessitate that a person is supporting something wrong or incorrect. But the truth has to remain pure and untouched. Even if it's just in theory. Even if it's just in theory. If you can't do it, or you're afraid to do it, or you're scared to do it, or whatever the situation, the theory must remain pure. There has to be purity of philosophy. Purity of philosophy. Purity of philosophy. And the moment the philosophy becomes tainted, and we start interpreting it this way and that way, everything will go haywire, and Islam will be in a serious threatened position. Moving forward. Tayyib. So he says that the shaheed, the martyr, the actual warrior on the cause of Allah, on the battlefield, he says just like his blood is not washed, and that's because the hadith teach us that their blood is sacred, it's noble, it's honorable, etc. So therefore, we don't wash the shaheed, even though washing the dead Muslim is obligatory. So if we leave off something which is obligatory to keep the reward, then what do you think is the case of the miswak, which isn't obligatory, to get the reward. So therefore, the miswak should not be used after the dhuhr prayer, after the sun starts to decline towards the west. It reached its zenith or zenith. The siwak should not be used because of this hadith, according to those scholars. Type. And of course, all of the ulama, they don't agree with this. There's khilaf on this issue. And some scholars, they say rather this is false. It says false. And one of the reasons, or one of the proofs that they use is the Prophet ﷺ used the siwak, commanded us to use the siwak, encouraged us to use the siwak without any restriction or discrimination. Period. He always used the siwak. When he entered his home, when he would pray, he would always use the siwak. He taught his ummah to use the siwak. He informed us of the virtues of siwak. When he was sick, lying there on his deathbed, there was the siwak. And the list goes on, hadith after hadith after hadith about the virtues of the siwak. That's number one. Number two, these scholars, they say is that when you brush your teeth, when you use the miswak, it won't necessarily take away all of the odor from your mouth. And that's because the odor from your mouth is actually from your belly. And that's because your belly is empty and you haven't eaten, and the different gases and things that come up from your belly out of your mouth. So it's not just from the teeth being cleaned or not. And of course, when you brush your teeth, for sure, it does help with the odor of your breath. There's no doubt about that. Even if your stomach is empty. The point is that the strongest proof is that there are so many hadiths that talk about the siwak, which are greater in number, more explicit, more direct to the point. And inshallah ta'ala, that's the correct view, is that a person is to use the siwak all day long and all night long. Dhuhr, asr, before iftar, right before maghrib, you should brush your teeth if you're fasting. Khayr, inshallah ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Moving forward. The hadith, or the part that says, As-siyamu junnah, معناه سترة ومانع من الرفث والآثام ومانع أيضا من النار ومنه المجن وهو الترس ومنه الجن لاستتارهم. Then he talks about the part of the hadith that says that as-siyamu junnah, that fasting is a shield. And what's meant by this is a shield, a screen, a veil, a barrier between obscenities, between you and obscenities, you and being vulgar, being nasty, low and mean and base, and also sins. It prevents you from sins, and it also protects you from the fire of hell. Okay? And then he talks about a linguistical breakdown of this word, junnah, and in many words, jinn, jinnah, the jinn, obviously jannah, paradise, janeen, all right, the baby, the womb, the fetus. Anytime jeen, noon is mentioned, and any word in Arabic, then it proves to something which is hidden. Something which is what? Something which is hidden. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. So the end of our lesson today. Salat al-Maghrib is upon us here, Eastern time. Inshallah ta'ala, we're going to answer just a few questions today. We're not going to make a separate Q&A, just a few, inshallah, maybe one or two. Muslim, how was the green tea? Jazakallah khairan, always great. Hayakallah. William ibn William, Allah yahayik. Mo Zizu, salam alaikum, salam alaikum, Muslim, New York City, USA, about nifas. Does one pray if the blood comes back again before 40 days? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make your child blessed, safe, and healthy. Ameen. May Allah Azza wa Jalla allow your child, be in the night ta'ala, to be means of happiness for you and your wife. Ameen. And may this child grow up to be strong and pious. Inshallah ta'ala, that's what we hope from Allah. Allahumma ameen. A woman is to wait for the 40-day period if the blood comes back. As far as if the blood stops, no problem. Ghusl, salah, fasting, vaginal intercourse, etc. She's a normal woman. As far as if the blood stops after 10 days and then it goes away, it's done. But a week later, it comes back. So we had 10 days, 7 days, that's 17 days. Now the blood is back. And the blood stays for another 7 days. How many days do we have? 7, 10, right? 24 days. She's still within the 40-day period. Play it safe. So she has up to 40 days for it to be considered to be nifas. Clear? And obviously the different views with regards to 70 days, 80 days, etc. Let's stick with 40, inshallah, for now, 40, okay? So any blood that comes within that 40-day period is going to be considered nifas. As far as the blood after the 40 days, come back to me if it comes after the 40 days. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Tayyib. Next one says, Mahmoud G, love you for the sake of Allah. May Allah bless you, akhi. Reflection of the ceiling fan. Hopefully you guys are paying attention to the class, huh? Hopefully you guys are paying attention to the information, huh? Inshallah, not the reflection of the ceiling fan. I was like, oh my God, what's that? Pay attention, guys, inshallah. May Allah forgive you for any wrong thoughts. May Allah purify you of wrong thoughts. Ibrahim B. London, UK. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. What books would you recommend to help one correctly understand and study Zuhud, Wala wal-Bara? Should I wait to learn Arabic before building up a library? Don't wait until you learn Arabic to build up a library. We've explained that. Zuhud, Wala wal-Bara, and anything else, Quran and Hadith. Quran and Hadith. Our Zuhud is nothing more than what's in the Quran and Hadith. Our Wala and our Bara is nothing more, nothing less than what's in the Quran and Hadith. So stock your library with the 6 books of Hadith, inshallah. Stock your library with the tafsirs, etc. Bas. Tayyib. Mahmoud G. Atlanta, Georgia. Should the hands not be raised when going and standing from sujood? Depends on what position. If you're coming from the, in general, if you want to raise your hands, labats. If you want to do it from time to time, that's fine, inshallah, from time to time. From time to time. All right, with regards to raising the hands, going and coming in and out of sujood, there's some narrations mentioned by some of the people of knowledge regarding that. But did Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhuma report that the Prophet did that all of the time? That's a different story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Last question we'll take from Mahmoud G. What pointers should be used when studying to avoid distractions and to stay focused? What pointers are to be used? Power of mind is everything for a student of knowledge. The will. Power of mind. That's your sword, your spear, that's your shield, that's everything. Your horse, everything is your mind, your heart. So if you can master that and control your thoughts and sharpen those thoughts, in the night ta'ala, nothing, inshallah, can stop you. So know the importance of having a sound mind and the importance of having sound thoughts and controlling those thoughts and you being in charge of those thoughts, inshallah ta'ala. If you know the virtue of a thing, you work harder for it. Once you know the virtue of a thing, you work harder for it, in the night ta'ala. And Allah surely knows best. Jazakumullah khairan. Guys, don't forget, inshallah, as we've announced before, this coming Saturday, July the 4th, at 2 p.m. will be Mufti Q&A, Book 1 read through. Send your suggestions and requests to the website, to the Facebook, to any of our social media platforms. What parts you would like to have explained and elucidated and expounded upon, inshallah ta'ala. That's going to be this Saturday, the 4th of July, starting at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Also, the 30th of July, on Thursday at 9 p.m., will be Judgment Day. Judgment Day, HadithDisciple style, inshallah. On the 30th of July, the last Thursday of this month at 9 p.m., please make sure that you sign up, inshallah, on the website and that you register. There's not going to be a public lecture or public class. And also look forward to the HadithDisciple Academy being launched very soon enough, inshallah ta'ala. And anyone who wishes to contribute or donate, anyone, inshallah ta'ala, who wishes to help out their skill or expertise, you can contact us as well, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. As far as what you just asked about Zelle or Zelly, can that be used for a payment method? Inshallah, if you contact me personally, Mahmoud G, send me a personal email, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, I will make an exception for you, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, okay? Jazakumullah khairan, may you be safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.